Hello everybody, this is virtually BGCMC. I'm Mr. Jonathan. Welcome to another draw along. In this video, we're going to be drawing sadness from inside out. And this is just a reminder, if you're ever having trouble keeping up with my pace, feel free to pause and play the video so you could keep up. Okay, we're going to dive in here with our basic shapes. So these big basic shapes, we call our primary shapes. We're going to start with an oval for the head, and then coming down here with a water drop shape, I would call it, for the body. Okay, so the primary shapes are the big basic shapes that we need, or the biggest basic shapes I should say. And then we're gonna draw some more basic shapes called secondary shapes. So just like the name implies, the second most important shapes. Let's start here with the turtleneck. The turtleneck is gonna cut across. You wanna cover up this bottom part of the oval here because you see it overlaps your chin. So that's what we're going for with the look of the turtleneck. And then as we go down, it's going to come in here, cutting into the body shape, and go down this way. Okay. So you want this V shape here for the bottom portion of the turtleneck, and on the top it's a little bit more flat, a lot flat. Okay. Get the arm going in here. The shoulder, you want to make sure that you go outside of the shape of the body just a little bit, and then we go down here into the elbow. Notice how far the arm is going down. It's about past halfway the length of the body here. So you could go pretty low with the arm, and then this. I'm making the shoulder overlap the turtleneck, just how the turtleneck overlaps the chin. But if you just want to make it graze right there on the edge, you could do that too. I like to have it overlap. That shows that, it helps to show that the body is turned and then that the arm is what's closest to us. Okay, then we curve here and here. We'll save the hands for later when we get into more details. This arm is gonna be at level with this one, and then pretty similar to how we drew this arm. We'll go up this way, and then we'll curve the shoulder out this way. And then this shoulder, you want to make sure that it's behind the turtleneck. So the turtleneck, you want to overlap this shoulder. Again, helps to show that the body is turned with all the parts overlapping. Okay, arms in place. We could draw this little part, the bottom part of the sweater, just to give us an idea of where the body ends and the legs are going to start. So I'm going to draw this shape cutting across here. It's nice to keep a curve just to show the roundness of the body. But if you need to, you could keep this a straight line going across. Okay. Also have it overlapping a little bit the ends of the body here. That gives the sweater a little bit more volume. Now with the legs, I'm going to follow this part here and then draw this shape going down this way. And then here, close it off. Legs are very short, so keep that in mind when you're drawing them. You don't need to go down far at all away from the body. Okay, so just leave a little bit of a gap between the two legs. There we go. Later on, this extra part here, we're gonna erase that. Okay, so basic shapes in place. Gonna start with the details of the face, then work our way down. I'm gonna draw a midline for mine just to help guide me. I didn't use one for here, but just to show you what it would look like. I'm drawing the midline, which is gonna be the center of the face, and then it is off to the side because her head is turned. And the part in the hair, I'm putting off way to the side. It's not in the, you don't want it in the middle of her head. You want a side part, and then the hair is gonna go around this way. Notice here how much parts the hair is actually covering up. So we're covering up a good part of this oval for the head, and then even going down to the turtleneck and shoulders, we're gonna cover up pretty good portion here. Okay, so we got that. And then going around to the top of the hair, I like to make sure it goes a little bit past the edge of the shape of the head. Again, just giving a little bit more volume to the hair. And her haircut, keep in mind, is uneven as well. So notice I'm going down pretty far here on this side of the hair, and then this side I'm stopping way up here. And then you could connect it with all the hair textures you want. You see how I'm not making it all the same? That makes it that variety here in the spikes of the hair texture, I think it makes it look better. Looks a little more natural if you have some variety here. Okay, let me erase some of these guidelines here just so you could have a clear view of what's going on. So since the hair is covering all this up, I'm gonna get rid of that. And now you can see a little bit more clearly. I'm not gonna erase all the guidelines just so you could see in the end how some of these guidelines that we're using help to build this whole drawing, and then you could compare the two. Okay, so this side of the hair is going to come down here, and then it's a lot shorter on this side as well. Go out this way, and then we'll get our little spikes here for the hair texture. I'm drawing these lines lightly at first just to see how they look, and then when I realize, or when I see that they look okay, or I'm happy with them, then I'll darken them up and just seal them in. See? Let's add some bangs here. There we go. Get rid of this. Okay, now getting into the features of the face, we'll get the eyebrows here. This eyebrow is going to be covered up a little bit by the bangs, so the end part we're not going to see. And then here, the shape you want is for the inside part of the eyebrows to be higher than the outside part. That's going to give her this scared or the sad look on her face. Okay, then even with the eyes, if you make them rounder at the bottom like this, and then a little bit pointy on this part, it's going to add to the expression that we're going for. Okay, so we're going to do that again here. Finding my shapes first, making sure they look okay, and then we'll go in and seal them in here. Okay. Inside we'll draw a circle, big one for the iris. Okay. A little tiny circle here on the top corner, that's going to be the highlight. then just behind that, in the center, another circle for the pupil. Okay. Then if you want, you could shade the iris in just very lightly. You want to make sure if you do shade this in, there's a difference in the value, just so it doesn't look like, if you shade the iris too dark, it'll look like just one big pupil. Okay. I'm going to drop the nose in next, and then the mouth. So the nose lines up right on the midline, the mouth as well. And then at the very end, that's when I want to put the glasses in. So for me, an easy trick to put the glasses in is if you start from the center, right here, the bridge of the glasses. And then we'll just put these big circles here for the rims. This part can be quite difficult, so don't be too hard on yourself. You don't need to get a perfect circle. Like we always say, just do the best you can. And that'll be good enough. Okay, not looking too bad. I'll draw one on this side too. This circle here, the one on this side, it especially doesn't need to be a perfect circle because of the fact that we talked about her head being turned. So when you're seeing this side of the glasses, it's actually at an angle, which makes it look more like an oval, or an ellipse is the correct term to use. Okay, so head and face all done. Moving on here to the turtleneck. I'm gonna follow the guidelines for the most part, the shape that we set up, but I'm gonna add a few wrinkles here and there just to add some extra details, make the drawing look a little bit more interesting. I'm going to get rid of this guideline here, just so when I add the turtleneck details, the ruffles, it'll look a little nicer. Okay. Before I do that, let me get this in here. Okay. So I like to draw a little wrinkle here in the middle, kind of picturing that this wrinkle is going throughout here. And then the turtleneck itself, it has these ruffles on it. And then also following the pattern that this is kind of wrinkled here and going into another wrinkle or fold. These ribs on the turtleneck, you could follow that shape as well, and it'll make it look a little bit more 3D. Okay, there we go. We're gonna get the cuffs in here for the sweater, and it's pretty much the same idea as the turtleneck. You do want to overlap a little bit here on the edges, and then you can add your ribs going through. One little trick you could do to make these details a little bit more interesting is, if you could tell, most of my lines, I'm using pretty dark, thick lines here for the most part. And then, you know, I'm using kind of the side of my pencil. Well, not kind of, I'm really using the side of my pencil to get these kind of lines. But when I do the details of these cuffs, I'm turning my pencil and trying to use the pointiest part and making nice thin lines here. Just that little difference, the variety in the kind of lines you use, it makes your drawing look a little bit more interesting. A little bit more refined in the details. Okay. Just darkening this up. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. See that? You don't have to draw the same amount of these ribs as I am. Just space them out how you please, and fit in however many that you can. But one detail you do want to keep in mind is keep two of them really close together and then spread out the next two. Okay, so the hands, this part could be a little bit tricky. Her hands are folded, so that's the look we're going for. A pretty simple way to do this is we'll start here with the thumb, and then you picture it like she's pinching her other fingers. So we'll go this way. Okay, so this is the shape of one hand, and then the next hand we just need to draw the thumb going up and back this way. You could draw this line here. You could draw it going in a little more if you'd like. That kind of shows the finger of this hand is going in. And then we draw this part. Alright, there we go. Okay. Next up, we'll finish off the legs. I'm going to darken up the outline first, the silhouette of the legs. Again, if you want to erase this, you can. You don't have to. If you want to leave it looking more like a sketch, by all means leave that in there. If you are going for a nice finished drawing, however, you know, with color, the whole shebang, I do recommend you erase and make sure all of your lines are nice and clean. So all these guidelines that you don't need, get rid of those. And then the lines you do keep in there, make sure they're nice and crisp. Nothing sloppy. Okay. So all my details in place. I'm gonna give it one last look. Make sure I didn't forget anything. Again, making sure my lines look nice and clean and how I like them. I'm going to connect this a little more. Alright, I think that's okay. I'm all done with my sadness. I think it looks pretty good. Hopefully your drawing came out good as well. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you at the next draw along. Thanks everybody. Bye.